Hello, welcome back. My name is John Renslow, PGA Club Professional, and we are here to help you enjoy the game more. In recent videos, we've been talking about the handicap system. First of all, what it is and how it helps you as an individual, not only playing with your buddies, but potentially playing in some type of competition at whatever level. Then we talked about how you get one, the handicap system, how some of those things are formulated, the differentials of the course score that you have, the score that you have, as well as the slope ratings of the golf course, and how that all comes together to make a so-called index that then transfers or converts over to a course handicap. And every golf course you play is going to have a different one. So even that one property under the same name, they're going to have 4 or 5 different sets of tees, and every one of those is looked at as a different golf course. The simple scenario with that in a thing called stroke play is the 18 shots. Just a brief, try to look at the other videos, but I'm just going to make a brief one here. With par being the benchmark, if we're shooting 90 all the time, that's 18 shots above par. If we play someone that's going to shoot a score of par, then we're going to need 18 shots subtracted from our score to make this an equitable situation and play for $1 or a drink or whatever. Okay, so that's a simple scenario, but there's a couple of other things that's very important for you to know, because oftentimes with a wager, a bet, what have you, even the informal ones that we have on the golf course, it's using a form of play known as match play. So there's 2 forms I want to hit today specifically. One of them is match play, which is a hole-by-hole situation, and then the other one is called Stableford. And that is a very commonly used format of play as well. It's a format in which the score that you make is converted into points. And then it's not so much the score that you made, it's the number of points that you have, which is, and we'll talk about that more in a bit. So again, if you have a course handicap of 18, and you're playing someone the average score is 90, and you're going to play someone that has a score of 72 all the time, well then this is a very simple scenario, first one, because every hole that you play, and here's your scorecard. So we're just using one set of 9, or one side as it's called. Here's your hole number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way through till 9. You might even see a thing called out on your scorecard, and what that means, it's a 100-year-old term for the golf courses, and it goes all the way back to the original golf course, which is the old golf course at St. Andrews, 400 years ish ago, where they didn't have snack bars. They played 9 holes. For our scenario today, they played 9 holes going out away from the clubhouse, and then they turned around and they played 9 holes coming back. So that's why you have out on the front side and then in on the back. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. Then you've got length, and this is just a general idea of a scorecard. Here's your length, first hole, second hole, all the way through, and the total. All right, then here's your par, 5, 4, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. That's the par on each one of these holes. You're going to have some blank spaces for the players, player 1, player 2. And this is our real focus today. You're going to see on every scorecard, and a lot of you out there probably wonder what this all means, and it says handicap on it. And these numbers bounce all over the place. Here you go, 13, 1, 11, 7, all the way through 15, 17, 3, 5. Those are the handicap, I'm going to use the word assignments, for every hole on the golf course. Now you probably noticed already, these are all the odds. Well, then the back 9 is going to have all the evens, all right? So hole number 1, par 5, it's the 13th handicap hole, and of course they go 1 through 18. Again, odds on this side, evens on the other, 1, 11 all the way down through. So if I'm an 18 handicap playing against a scratch player, instead of having those 18 shots taken away from my final score at the end, I'm going to need help along the way, because match play is different from stroke play. In match play, we have a hole-by-hole match. We play the first hole. For the sake of conversation, I'll be player 1 and my tour player will be player 2. I am going to make a 6 on this hole and my tour player is going to make a 4. Now in this scenario, the tour player is 1 up. On the next hole, I do pretty well and I make a 4. My poor tour player friend, unfortunately, he makes an 8. So he wins the first hole, I win the second hole, and now we are even or tied or level. It doesn't matter that the total of my 2 holes is 10 and the total of his two holes are 12. The score, the only score that matters is the individual hole and not the aggregate total. And we're just going to keep going with this. You know, I make a 5, he makes a 4. You know, now he's back to 1 up. And you're going to continue playing in match play until the number of holes that remain is less than the number of holes that a person's winning by. So if, for example, you're on the 17th tee and the player is 2 up, he's won 2 more holes than you, you've got 2 holes to play and you're 2 up, if that person that's 2 up wins the 17th hole, they win. Match is over. Okay? So that is match play. It's a hole by hole match, and the person with the person who is up by more holes than remain to be played, that's the winner in match play. Okay, so here we go. What happens with our handicap in this situation? Well, rather than taking 18 shots away at the end, which doesn't do you any good because this is a hole by hole situation, that 18 handicap gets or receives, we talked about that in another video, it's getting, you're getting it, but it's being taken away. You're like using a coupon. You got to have the coupon to use it. So if I, for the sake of conversation, make a 5 on the first hole and my tour player makes a 4, I get a stroke removed from my 5 or taken away from my 5, so I have a 4. We talked about it in terms of a gross 18 hole total. Take away the 18, now you got 72, so 90 minus 18, 72, gross and net. Well, now it's done hole by hole. Here's my gross score, okay? I get 1 stroke taken away from every single hole, because I'm an 18 handicap. I get 1 shot per hole. 18 handicap, 18 holes, 1 shot taken away. I get a stroke taken away, so instead of a 5, I actually have a 4. I have a gross 5 and a net 4, and that is a tie, and we are even. Here we go to the next hole. I make a 4. Tour player makes a 4. But I get 1 shot taken away. That is a net 3. Gross 4, net 3. He's got a gross and a net because he doesn't get any strokes. Guess what? I am 1 up. And that goes all the way through. Front 9, back 9, I get a stroke on every single hole. It's a beautiful thing. Now, here it gets a little bit more complicated, but this is exactly why I wanted to have this video today with you. What happens when a player is not an 18? What if maybe I'm a 10? If we were, again, playing in aggregate stroke play, I would get 10, so if I shot 82, that would become a 72. If I shot 80, that'd be a net 70. That's the way that 10 handicap works, because I'm, on balance, a better player than the 18 handicap. But now what do? I got 10 shots. Do I just use them on the first 10 holes? No. That's where this handicap number comes into play, okay? So again, the handicap numbers here, the assignments are designated 18 holes, 18 handicap holes, and they're not, again, necessarily in the order of 1 through 18, because they can't be. But nonetheless, so I'm going to get, this is the way the system works, I'm going to get a stroke taken away from my school. I'm going to get a stroke on the first 10 assigned handicap holes. So here we go. There's 1. In fact, I can put a little mark there. So on this side, because I'm a 10 handicap, I'm going to get 5 shots on the front, I'm going to get 5 shots on the back. Here's my number 1 handicap hole, my number 7, my number 9, my number 3, and number 5. So on those holes, I'm going to get a stroke taken away. So on the other holes, we just play level. The 10 handicap and the tour player are going to play level on those on the holes that do not receive a stroke, as it were. This can be called, what you'll hear sometimes, is dotting or popping a scorecard. And so the way that we can see it, especially if there's multiple players, is we actually put a dot right here, right here, right here, right here, and right here. Sometimes it'll be in red. Most of the time, red or black will be one of those colors. And that way, when you're playing, you know where you're going to receive a stroke. So here, 4, 4, yeah, level, even. Okay? Now, 4, 4, nope. I get 4 for 3. And now I'm 1 up. And that'll carry all the way through. Every one of these holes that gets a dot, every one of these holes that's 10 or below, all these handicap numbers are where I'm going to receive my stroke. Okay? One thing that's very important to realize here, understand here, is that there's a misconception that says that the number 1 handicap hole is the hardest hole. That's not necessarily true. Remember, and you'll hear this in the other videos about handicaps, but it's not the hardest hole. It's the hole where the higher handicapper needs help against the lower handicapper. So it's entirely possible that, for the sake of conversation, this hole number 8 down here is the most difficult hole in the golf course. But if the higher handicapper bogeys the hole and the scratch player bogeys the hole on average, then they don't need a stroke per se, because that's what's happening is everybody's going to bogey that hole. The number 1 handicap hole is the difference between where the higher handicapper needs a stroke against the lower handicapper. That's where this is all set up, and this is done by literally hundreds of scorecards that come in. We did this on paper years and years ago, just to give you an idea. And so we took I believe it was the 0 to 8 handicap, a couple hundred scorecards, and the 20 to 28 handicap, a couple hundred scorecards, and you put all of them in on an Excel sheet, and the hole that had the greatest disparity between the two becomes your number 1 handicap hole. So it's not necessarily the hardest hole, it's the hole where the higher handicapper needs a stroke. Okay. Let's just talk about Stableford quickly, because this is important. In the same way that match play is hole by hole, Stableford points are assigned hole by hole. So most of the time in Stableford, if you get a par, you're going to get a point. If you get a bogey, you're probably going to get 0. And if you happen to make a double bogey or worse, then you just have a -1. The shot's actually taken away from your score. Stableford's a good format because it's great for things like leagues, because if you're out at 5:30 in the evening and you're trying to get around the golf course really quickly, and you don't want to, maybe you don't have your A game because you're playing on Wednesday nights and you don't have much time to practice, you don't have to worry about high scores or high rounds, and it helps speed up play. Because once I get to double bogey, net, and I'm going to have a -1 taken, from my score, it doesn't matter. Just put the ball in your pocket and keep going. So you don't have to worry about guys that are trying to hit a ball out of bounds. Oops, I hit a ball in the water. Oops, now I'm going to have this 12 or whatever, this 10 that's going to be my score. Once I get to that net of double bogey or higher, we're done. Just put it in your pocket and carry along. Okay? So here we are. Strokes are done the same way. So the 10 handicap gets 1 here, gets 1 here, gets 1 here, and there's your other 2. So we make 5 on the first hole, we get a point. And these points just add up. So now I get a 5. Whoops, I get a dot here. That's a 5 for 4. I get another point. There's my 1. And now I can make a 3. I might get 2 points for that one. And comes along an 8. Well, it's a par 3, so we wouldn't get higher than 5 anyway, but you have an 8 with a pop, 8 with a dot, that's a net 7. So you get 1 score taken away, and you can see how this goes all the way along. So in match play, they're distributed hole by hole. And in Stableford, where you're getting a point, or you're getting points based on each hole at an individual basis, the holes, the handicap holes, are spread out the same way. So, stroke play, handicap, and the match play handicap, and how those things are distributed. And again, enjoy the game. This is just, is it everything about this? Not necessarily, but at the same time, it's going to help you have enough information to be able to talk to this intellectually with your buddies, with your friends, and be able to play in something like a Wednesday night league and be able to understand what's going on. So enjoy that, have fun with it, see you on the golf course.